Hi everyone. Today we're going to look at how to use the Casio graphing calculator to help with a question like this about a binomial probability distribution. So we've been given a binomial variable here. We can tell from the way this equation is set up that there are 6 trials. X is the variable, the number of successes, that the probability of success on an individual trial is 0.4 and therefore the chance of fail is 0.6. We have to complete the following table, and then we have to do a histogram, a graph of this. So let's go to the statistics app, straight into, no, sorry, not straight into there. First, we're going to populate the list number 1 with our values of x. Now, if there are 6 attempts at this experiment, there could be 0 successes, or 1 or 2, all the way down to a maximum of 6, and I've stored those in list 1. Don't forget the 0. Sometimes that messes things up. Now, distributions, binomial, and it's a binomial probability distribution, just like the title says, BPD. Now, the setting is to say the data is a variable. No, I want the data to be drawn from a list, and it automatically looks at list 1. You can change that if the data is somewhere else. The number of trials we said earlier was 6. P is 0.4 directly from the question, and for the results I would like to save them in list number 2. And now we press execute, and there it is. Be a little bit careful. The number 1, 2, 3 at the side there literally just means the number of items. You see how it goes down to number 7? Those are not the successes, they're not the values of x. If I exit out of there and get back to my lists, now I can see that 0 successes has that probability, and so forth. Now I could easily write them down on my answer page simply by copying. If I highlight the value, I get a few more decimal places, but we would usually write maybe 2 or 3 decimals rounded. Now, as far as the histogram is concerned, I can use this to draw graphs. So F1 is the graph. There are 3 preset graphs, and it's always a good idea to check what the settings are on the graphs. For the first graph, I've had it set to a scatter graph. I don't really want that. If I check the second graph, its settings is also a scatter graph. Well, let's change that to a histogram. So those are not available. I'll go to the next menu, histogram. And X list, which is the values of x's, yes, list number 1 is that's where the values of x were. But as far as the frequencies here, I want that to be the numbers which are in list 2. Those were the probabilities we calculated. I'll accept the default color scheme. I don't really care too much about that. Now that's just the settings page, so back out of there, and that was graph 2. So I'll ask for graph 2 to be drawn. Now for a histogram, it wants to know where to start drawing the first block, and it wants to know the width of the blocks. Because this is a discrete variable bouncing up from 0 to 1 to 2, I'll do the width first. I want the width to be 1 unit, but I also want to start at negative 0.5. You'll see why in a moment. Let's press execute. So it's a bit hard to really see, but the 0 value here on the axis would be running down through this first block. Now we can change the view window, shift view window. I know the view window has to go from 0 to 6.5, so I'm going to ask it to go from negative 1, a little bit further left than I want, up to 7, again a bit further than I want. And this is the thing, that it was jumping up in steps of 10. I want the scale to jump up in units so I can see the numbers. And for the y values, those are probably not too bad as limits, but the scale is 10,000. That's why I couldn't see numbers. Let's have a scale value of 0.1, so we actually get to see something on the scale. And now we'll go back to graph and graph 2. We'll accept the same options that we had there earlier, and we execute. And now we can see the histogram with numbers on each of the axes, and we could very easily do a drawing of that on our grid as our answer. And that's exactly the sort of thing that you would do here if you were responding to that question, using the calculator to assist and then drawing the result. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.